Ah, my star people, Banjo Dan. You have readily accepted my theory of life, the universe, and everything using simple whole number ratios. So tell me, my disciple, have I convinced you to change your tuning system outlook yet?
Well, my lord, Pythagorean tuning, which stacks perfect fourths and fifths to determine intervals that can be used in a scale, has its merits. Who doesn't appreciate power chords built from a 5-chord, for instance, such as in bluegrass music? There's a lot to love about a tuning system that respects the octave. The perfect fifth above the octave, and the perfect fourth interval below the octave, which is really an inverse of the perfect fifth that has been octave expanded to bring it up. I can now tune a scale made up of naturals and sharps by stacking only perfect fifth intervals forward from the fundamental with an octave reference point such as at C at octave 0, or a total of 12 stacks or jumps to new perfect fifth intervals, ending at B sharp, the enharmonic equivalent to the fundamental of C. The intervals in the scale correspond to 3:2 ratios that rise exponentially for each subsequent stack, which can be calculated and converted to fractions. In order to bring the values in line with the reference octave at 0, I need to octave reduce the values. I can determine the octave reduction factor by halving the fundamental ratio for each octave ascent, and then multiplying the intervals by their respective octave reduction, which yields rescaled ratios used for the tuning system.
Very good, my pupil, but some of your intervals are not the simplest achievable.
Ah yes, my lord, wise beyond your years, as ever. In that case, I would propose descending from a reference octave by stacking perfect fourths backwards at a 2:3 ratio from the fundamental, ending at D flat flat, the enharmonic equivalent to the fundamental of C. The intervals in the scale correspond to 2:3 ratios that rise exponentially for each subsequent stack, which can also be calculated and converted to fractions. In order to bring the values in line with octave 0, I need to octave expand the values. I can determine the octave expansion factor by doubling the fundamental ratio for each octave descent. Since I need to bring all values, including the first perfect fourth stack, up, I need to start the octave expansion process with a doubling of the first interval, and doubling that value thereafter, and then multiplying the intervals by their respective octave expansion, which yields rescaled ratios that can be used to compare against the perfect fifth intervals. Here I have all the perfect fifth stacks on the left, together with their notes and interval ratios. B sharp almost lines up to the fundamental of C, and on the right side are the perfect fourth stacks with their notes and interval ratios. D flat flat almost lines up to the octave C. 12 stacks total for both stacking methods, which corresponds to a 12-tone scale. For each scale degree, I will select the simplest ratio, which will be the interval for both enharmonics where applicable. For the fundamental and octave, I can settle with these ratios for now, but more on them to come. These 12 tones and their precise measurements can then be used to divide up the octave and establish fretting locations on an instrument. Pythagorean tuning, if you will.